Greetings and hello. Video 76, part 5. Let us continue. Questions and answer. Next question. Let's see now. So correct me if I am wrong here, Tralaka, but I thought you said that ancient space fought wars. And now, would you like to talk more about that and deeper to clear up some things? Yes, this here is Tralaka. Yes, I did. We talked about this earlier off the microphone. But yes, there was a few of them, and they were very brutal. Now, let's say this one here we're talking about was back when Mars was a very well-established civilization and a very nice-looking planet. There was a very brutal war against beings that had spaceships that were miles in long in lengths versus vast numbers of smaller ships fighting against them for controlling the trade routes for going out of the system of planets to do far trades because they wanted a piece of the dough, man. They want a slice of the pie. This war was fought to control, so it's free to go through. But those miles-long ship who had the nickname of pinheads, they were pricks too, but anyhow, these pin-headed beings, they had very long necks and small heads. But don't let that fool you, because in those small heads they had, it was an incredibly high IQ. Unfortunately, this particular race of beings, it was heading in the wrong direction down a one-way street. Woo! However, back to the question. But this war pushed those pinheaded beings and their ships out of the system. Though it left up different parts of the Earth system of planets looking like they were truly at the wrong end of a shooting range. What a shame. Next question. Let's see now. So, was this the last one, the last war in our area of space? No! The next one happened sometime after Maladek was no longer in planet form. But trust me, Maladek is much better being an asteroid belt than it was being a planet, if you've ever been past it. I talk about that in one of my earlier videos. The space war was between the Mars Warriors. Oh, mighty Mars Warriors. Different types of Mars Warriors. I spent some lifetimes there. We'll talk about that sometime. And a reptilian race who has bases on Neptune and Saturn. Those nasty, always angry reptilians sticking their scales where they don't belong. This was a war to try to clear those troublesome race away from affecting the beings who are on Mars and on Earth and on Venus and so forth. This war was very bloody, though not very long in its time. Then the war in space was quiet for some time, and multiple Earth species came to Earth. Then a few thousand years later, those reptilians were causing trouble again, and there was a war. This war had outside help, though, to help the Earth's multiple species survive. This war was helped by the Pleiadians, and I'll explain this again. The Pleiadians helped. They came in and they helped with this war to beat that particular species of reptilians back. Those little trouble hotheads. The outside force kept the war in space, where it should be. War, if there's going to be a war, it should be in space and not on the planets or moons. Next question. You said in space where it should be. Why? Why would you say that, Tralaka? Well, my friend, this is not difficult to understand. Even, I'm an ancient, but it's not hard to understand. Space in itself is truly, though part of the living, breathing universe, though it is vastly empty between the planets, moons, and suns. So not much to damage. See, that's not that hard to figure out. Unless, of course, you're in a ship that got hit. Whoops. tell you a story about that sometime. Or by chance you crash ships or giant ships into a planet or a moon because you're being a little prick. Now, which could have devastating effects on those living on the moons or planets. As this would be a secondary effect. It could be changing the weather systems, the habits of the seasons, or even changing the atmosphere to something that's not healthy. The different groups of alliance warriors. Da, 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 da. I have videos on that explaining that about the Alliance Warriors, but there's different versions of them also across the more known part of the living universe that are taught to keep that fight in space and off planet and keep it as minimalized as possible so there's free trade going between the different species and there is more than a reasonable amount of peace between the species. This is important. So, next question. Okay, it says here, let's change speed here and go into a different topic. Why would you so descriptive about some of the Atlanteans leaving this planet Earth in the way they did? Okay, alrighty here. This is what I shared in a few of the Atlantean videos, and it is so important to understand. Listen to it over and over. It is important for it to flow within you to understand that back then the Atlanteans were of a multiple species of different planets of beings that agreed, okay, let's go to Earth, to this big continent of Atlantis, and start something fresh and new in harmony. This is important to understand. And many thousands of years later, those troublesome Greys, who I talked about in some of my videos, they had the master plan of deception they used because they had figured out a gray human hybrid form. Now remember, way back in the times of Atlantis, the average Atlantis was like 9 feet high, between 7 and 9, some were even like 10 feet, okay? So this wasn't some little weak little creature that you see in Hollywood movies that's a hybrid. No, they were the same size as the beings on Earth, which were much taller back then. But you're using this idea they had, and it was the Greys' idea, okay, to install false shock and fear into the Atlanteans and to the other species who were living on Earth at the time, to rapture that great harmony, especially that Atlantis had, and to split them into multiple parts. Now, the ones who stayed true to the information they came here to Earth with tens of thousands of years earlier and kept that going, versus those who got tricked into that shock and fear and who were afraid of their own shadows and the dark, unless, of course, you paid a little favors and then somebody will make it go away. There became a time where the Puritans had we've had enough of this, and in secret arranged to leave Earth and to go to planets not far from where they were originally from, that where they could reestablish themselves. The bigger truths here need to be understood, that Atlantis was a near perfect harmony of a multi-humanoid species living with a shared goal. This is important to comprehend. And I explained this in some of my early videos. That was shattered by the false agenda by the Greys to control them, to create fear and deception, because this fear and deceptions is actually tangible food for that particular species of Grey and those really hot-headed reptilians from the Saturn Neptune area who have the grid around the planet. This is tangible food for them to eat. Next question. What's it say here? So, What are your so what you are claiming here is that the reptilians did not come up with a plan of fear-based beliefs to control. That is exactly what I am saying. Is one, you got to understand the reptilians of the Earth systems of planet in the Neptune Saturn area are not exactly the sharpest pencil in the box. Okay, they're not brainiacs. They're only smart enough, those particular species of reptilians, to steal or buy other technology and tweak it to work for them, and then they put their symbol on it and dress it up to make it look like this is their own idea that the reptilians made it, but they're not nearly that intelligent. I know these. I remember. The fear-based beliefs are the inventions of the Greys back then, who were based on planet Earth in secret areas. Let me. I gotta add a few more things on this. I really desire that the beings here on Earth would break free of those old teachings you're taught in school any of the reptilian beings are all evil, because this would be a lie. This is a lie. This is more deceptions, because this is saying that any species of any versions of a species is evil, and that's wrong, because I know some in past lives and in my meditations that some variations of reptilian beings who look incredibly much human are very good beings and very intelligent and not trying to work against peace but enjoy peace. It has to be understood that the certain species of reptilian based around the Neptune Saturn area, these are the ones who are bad, who are evil. You have to this has to be explained for and think it over. For these are always angry, and then they think about it after they destroyed or killed in vast numbers. They're not very sharp pencil in the box. However, this here is the ancient spirit Tralaka. This is the end of video 76, part 5. Stay tuned for more questions and answers. Good night.